Hi guys, welcome to the Reach tutorial. Today we're really just going to show you guys how we build these screens. We're not going to build all the widgets, we're actually just going to kind of build one or two, but I'm going to show you how simple we can make it, but then also how sophisticated we can make it. So to get going, we'll hit the create new layout and we'll just give this a name. So Reach tutorial sounds pretty good. And we'll hit next. Now then it's asking for the size. So all of our screens now, we create them at the 1920 by 1080. And the reason for it is because, screens are getting higher resolution. Same with the 4K. We need to make sure all of our backgrounds, all of our assets are as clear as possible. So we're going to create them at 1920 by 1080. Now, of course, if you had a vertical or like a video wall, you can definitely type in the information here. This is just trying to save us some time. So I'm going to go ahead and click 1920 by 1080 and I'm going to hit submit close. Now it's going to kind of bring me to the back end. So you can see right up top here, we can zoom in, we can kind of zoom out. If I needed to go left or right, I'd be able to. Obviously the vertical scroll. And then up here on the right, we have some functionalities as well. Zones here, once we've created some widgets or whatnot, we'd have a list right here. New zone, that's how you actually create a widget. You could preview it too, like once we kind of get some more stuff in here, we'd be able to preview it and get kind of a live view. And then this part, or this configure part, this is the layout setting. So if I wanted to rechange the name, or if all of a sudden the size changed, I would be able to change it right here. Now the way this works is that you basically create a zone, okay? So you would start with new zone, you would create that, then you add the widget within there. Now where we start is we always want to start with our background, okay? We always start with our background, that's the lowest part, and then we just kind of add the layers on top, or the widgets, sorry. We always add the widgets on top. Now we create all our backgrounds using Photoshop. That does not mean you need to have Photoshop to create that background. The only reason why we do it is because we want to give each partner a really unique and customized look. And obviously Photoshop allows us to do that. So that's where we start. So to kind of get going here, we'll do the new zone. And then now it's asking for a name. So usually I'll name my zones based on what widget it's going to be. So for this one, it's going to be the background because that's where we're going to start. If it was time, I would label it time. If it was an RSS feed, I would label it an RSS feed. So label background, then we'll hit next. Now it's asking for the size. Well, I know the exact size of this because it's the size I created the screen. So it's going to be 1920 by 1080. And hit submit close. So step one is done. Creating the zone, that's done. Now we just need to apply the widget to it. So you can see now if I mouse over here, we've got some more functionalities within the zone. So obviously here's the name. Now on the right side, I can delete. So if all of a sudden I need to delete this widget, I'd be able to. Kind of over here is a copy. So I could copy a widget. Settings here would allow you to change certain settings, which we'll walk through. So we'll kind of just ignore that for right now. And then I can just edit the content. So I can click here, or I can double click, and this will bring me to the same kind of like the property page. Now up here in this timeline, it says add widget. So here's a series of widgets that we provide. Now, depending on what you're looking to do, we kind of know what widgets to grab. So we're going to do the background. Like I said, we're always starting there, which is going to be a graphic. So when I click graphic, now we've kind of got these like some properties basically. Every widget kind of has different ones. Some have more than others because some might have templates. Some widgets might be a little bit more advanced than others. So each widget might have like a different look or a different tabs, okay? So the name part here, this allows you to change the name if you really wanted to. Otherwise, you can just keep it as graphic. Again, for this tutorial, we're just going to kind of ignore these parts for right now. So we'll kind of go to the next tab over, and this is where we're going to throw in our picture. Now, if I click in here, I can just grab it from the desktop, or I can just drag it in. So once I drag it in, you can kind of see it's loading up. It's going to give me a thumbnail of that background, and then of course the name. So I'll hit OK. All right, so the question is, where's the background? How do you see it? We have this show zone preview up here. So if you select that, this will show the background. That obviously makes it a lot easier for us when we're building these widgets. So like I said earlier in this tutorial, we're not going to build all the widgets. I'm just going to build one more, and then I'm going to keep adding layers onto it to show you how sophisticated we can kind of keep making this. So to add a new one, we'll hit New Zone. It's asking me for a name. So I'm going to do time and date. I'll hit Next. Now it's asking for the size. Well, I have no idea what I want to make the size. I have no idea how big I want to make it. I'm a little clueless. You have to enter some sort of number in just to create the zone. So as a default, I've gotten into the habit of just doing 100, 100. You can put whatever information you want in there, but like I said, as a default, you got to put something in there. Then I'll hit Submit Close. Now you can see this widget has been created. Now I can move it around. The bottom right here, I can make it bigger or smaller. The X and Y's I can change here too. So you can see why we just need to put in some sort of number to create the zone. Now the biggest mistake a lot of people make is this Z-index. What that Z-index means is that you're layering it, okay? So like I said before, we always start with the background. So if I click on the background here, it's set to 0, which is perfect. If I click on the time and date, it's at 0 as well. I definitely don't want that. I want it to sit on top. So I want to change that to 1. So every widget you create is always going to be at 1. It wouldn't be like this is 1 and then the next widget I create is at 2 and then the next one I create is at 3. They would all just be 1. The problem is that if you don't change that and you go to preview it, you're probably not going to see your widget show up because it's hiding behind the background. So we need to tell the software like, hey, this is dominant. I want this to sit on top. All right, so kind of going back to our step 1 there, we created the zone. Now the second step is to apply the widget. So when I did the background, I double clicked. This time I'll go ahead and click this icon. So you can just see there's 2 ways to kind of get to this property page. Again, I'll add a widget, and then we're looking for the time and date, which is going to be right down here. So once I select that, again, you just kind of start from your left and you work your way right. Now if you remember how the background was, the background only had 2 tabs. Now this one has 4. So like I was saying, each widget's a little bit different. So there's really nothing we need to do here. So we'll go to time date setting, and then we'll just kind of answer these questions. So time zone, we're central, and then we have some preset formats here, things that are kind of ready to go. If you knew some custom ones, you could put it in here. Otherwise, just a little trick is you can actually delete some of these. So maybe you don't want the year, but maybe you want a dash in between instead. But you're okay with this. Now to find out this kind of custom, you can actually go to Google and type in like a PHP, like a little cheat sheet, and that will tell you what letters mean if you want it like a certain way. Otherwise, of course, we're always here to help. So once we've kind of got these settings, then we'll go to the next tab, which is the style. So here I can do bold, maybe I want it in all caps, maybe I want it 40, and then the size, or the color, sorry. So here's the color palette. Now if you had a certain hex color, something to match your branding, you could definitely paste it in here. Just make sure you have the hashtag and then type in that code. So for this particular tutorial, I'll just keep it white, and then maybe I'll choose Arial, and everything looks good. So I'll hit OK, and then let's just preview this. All right, so here's our time and date. So now what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to add another layer to this widget. This is kind of the simpler way to do it, right? But now I'm going to take the widget and just kind of keep adding some layers to it, showing you how sophisticated we can kind of make this. So if I'm going to double click in here, and then I'm going to go into style. Now one way is through the font. Now you are not limited to just these 5 fonts. One thing you just have to keep in mind is, does the player have that font? Now we are able to basically help you install the font, but we cannot guarantee that it will work 100%. So when it comes to that, just kind of ask us and we can kind of help guide you with that. But let's say I wanted to use the font called Impact, okay? Now it's not on this list at all. So what I need to do is basically use some CSS. I need to override it. So to do that, I would come down here and basically enter some CS. Once I've entered that in, you can see it's grayed out. What that means is that that impact is overriding what is provided. So if I hit OK now and I preview this, we will see the font impact showing up. And there it is. There's the impact. Now again, adding another layer to this. Let's say I wanted my time and date to flip. I wanted to have it flip between two widgets, okay? Again, we're gonna double click in here, and up here it says add widget. Okay, so I'll add another widget. So let's do sports scores, all right? And again, once you pick a widget, you always just kind of start from the left and you work your way right. So I'll choose, my certain sports. And then for this particular widget, there's no styling needed. So we'll just kind of hit OK here, and then we'll preview it. So now what this is going to do is that it's going to flip every 10 seconds. So you're going to have your time and date. It's going to show for 10 seconds. Then it's going to flip to sports scores for 10 seconds. Now you can adjust that a little bit as well. Maybe you want your time and date to be 30. Then maybe you only want sports scores to be 10. You definitely have some flexibility there. And again, I'm adding just kind of another layer to this. Now to accomplish that, to accomplish those seconds, again, when I double click in here, every zone you create basically gets this timeline. All right, as you can see here, every zone as a default is 60 seconds. So let's say I wanted my time and date to basically be kind of more dominant, right? I want it to stay up longer. So out of the 60 seconds, we have two widgets that are taking up 20 seconds, right? 10 and 10. If I want this to be a little bit more dominant, I can come into this duration and I can change it to 50. Now you can see how this timeline has changed. So it's showing this particular widget for 10 or 50 seconds and then this one for 10. Again, you could have some flexibility there. Maybe you want 30, just to kind of even out the time, 30 and 30. So this is kind of where you would go to make those adjustments. Now again, to kind of add another layer to this. Right now, our time and date is kind of sitting on top of the background. It's kind of like transparent. Let's say that I wanted a red background. I just wanted a red background. What I could do is go into the settings right here, the settings icon, and if I click it, now our property page shows up. So think of anything outside of the zone, right? Color, drop shadow, maybe rounded corners, anything outside of that would be in the settings. So we're going to ignore these two for right now for this particular tutorial, but we're really going to go to background defaults. Now here is where I can just type in a certain color. Now the system does read like blue, yellow, red, but if there was a certain hex color, you'd be able to type it in here. So again, you would just make sure you have your hashtag and then that hex color. You could also put an image, so you could have another image in here if you wanted. So for this case, I'm just going to do red. I'm going to hit OK, and then we're going to preview it. Now you can see that I have this red box behind this zone. So still my sports scores and time and date are still flipping, but now I have this red box. And again, we're going to add just one more layer to this. Let's say I wanted rounded corners, okay? I want this to have rounded corners on the red. So to accomplish that, I'm going to X out of here, and I'm going to go back into the settings. Then I'm going to go to Style, and this is where my CSS could go. So maybe if you wanted like a stroke or something, you could put it right here. Like I said, drop shadow would be one. Just use kind of like freelance CSS. And now when we preview it, now you can see I have rounded corners. And again, those two zones or those two widgets are just flipping in there. So that's kind of it for our tutorial. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to call or email us. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you.